Call to order the regular City Council meeting for Monday, June 16th. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Councillor Van Houten. Councillor Stiefel.
Here.
Councillor Mergelman.
Here.
Councillor Gardner.
Here.
Councillor Stone.
Here.
Councillor McKinnon.
Here.
Mayor Wolf.
Here. First order of business, the 2024 audit presentation. Finance Director Lori Cobbler.
Good evening, Council. I am pleased tonight to present the 2024 financial audit and our CPA, Prospective Business Solutions, Uli Keeley, who does our statutorily required audit each year for the last 5 years. In front of you, you have a copy that was prepared by Uli. The field work was completed the third week of April. Couple things I want to highlight before I turn it over to Uli. If you go to the MDA, which is the Management Discussion and Analysis, which I prepared for the audit, it kind of gives you a breakdown of the overall financial situation of the city, because there's a lot of information in this audit. It's a lot of information and a lot of the different funds and a lot of that. But if you look at the MDA, it kind of pulls it all together and kind of tells you the net position and some of the differences and the decreases. And I am very proud of all of the work and of all of the department heads and the budget and everything that went into that, and all of the hard work and all of that. So I just kind of want to highlight some of that and want to know if you guys have any questions of that from me before I turn it over to Uli. And it's okay if you don't, because it's a lot of information. I'm proud to do that, and want to let you know I'm here if you have any questions. It's okay.
So our net position increased in both areas, the government account and the business account.
Yep, and it's important to know government activities include the general fund, the streets fund, and all those special funds. And then the business, of course, is the water activities, which is our enterprise fund. And they're two different funds and how they're accounted for. But yeah, very exciting. And I'm very excited for you to hear what Uli has to say. So I will let her get started.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Lori, for the introduction. Again, my name is Uli Keeley. I am the city's auditor and, excuse me, have been auditing the city for the last 5 years. And just want to kind of expand a little bit on Lori's presentation. It truly does take a lot of work and dedication to keep the financial records of a city like yours in order. And so kudos to the management staff, to the accounting staff, everybody that is involved in getting this information ready, not just for you on a monthly basis, but for me as an external auditor on an annual basis. So thank you. It's always a pleasure coming down here to Florence and working with your staff. So having said that, this again is the 5th year, and this is the first year where we had no material audit adjustments that we needed to post. That is impressive, and that really says something. That means every time that you as a council get financial statements and budget to actual statements that you review on a monthly basis, you can rest assured the numbers are good numbers and things are recorded where they're supposed to be recorded, and you can rely as a council on this information to make sound financial decisions for the city. So that is that. The actual audit report, I believe you all have a copy in front of you. I just want to highlight a few things, and then I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. So as the most important part is that we issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That is the first document that you see when you open up the audit report is the independent auditor's report. Following is, as Lori mentioned, the management discussion and analysis prepared by management and gives a high-level summary of all the information that is in the remainder of the audit report. So I highly recommend reading it. I believe it's short. It's about, 10 pages, if that. It's concise. It highlights, the changes in the financial position of the city, but it also gives reasons when there are significant fluctuations year over year, and that kind of information you will not find in the rest of the audit report. So highly recommend reading that. So going forward to pages 1 and 2 of the audited financial statements. Page 1 and 2 are called the government-wide financial statements, and that means they are prepared on what we call a full accrual basis of accounting. You will see the split between the governmental activities and the business type activities, and all assets and all liabilities are included in those statements. So not just near-term or short-term assets and liabilities, but also your long-term assets and long-term liabilities, such as capital assets and your long-term debt. That information you will not find in the fund financial statements because they use a different basis of accounting. So looking at the statement of net position, you will see a total net position for the governmental activities of about $8.3 million, and the business type activities, your water fund, of about $18.5 million. Page 2 of the government-wide financial statements kind of shows you the change in net position year over year, again split between governmental activities and business type activities. So you see in the governmental activities that your net position increased by almost $700,000, and your water fund or your business type activities increased by $800,000. So a healthy year for the water fund. Pages 3 and 5 are what we call the fund financial statements. So those are the financial statements that you as a council are probably more used to seeing, like split between the different funds and only looking at near-term or short-term assets and short-term liabilities, because that is essentially also how you budget. So this is probably more familiar to you than the first two statements. So one change I will talk about briefly is in the presentation of the balance sheet this year. If you compare it to the prior year, you will notice that the street fund was not separated out last year, and that is because as of 2023, that fund was considered a smaller fund and was actually reported further back in the financial statements in the non-major fund section. But this year, the fund had increased enough in size in terms of assets and revenue that it calculated as a major fund and therefore now gets its own column in the balance sheet on page 3. So you will see on page 3 you have your general fund at a fund balance of about $3.7 million. You have your street fund at a fund balance of about 1.3 million. And then in the next column, you will have this summary column called Other Governmental Funds. And those are what we call like the smaller funds or non-major funds. And that information I will talk about when we get further back in the audit report. But to summarize, the total fund balance of all the smaller funds was just a little over $1 million at the end of 2024. And then on page 5, is the income statement essentially of your governmental funds. And here you will see how fund balance changed from 23 to 24. As you can see on the bottom of the page on the general fund, the net change in fund balance of the general fund was a little over $800,000, so a very healthy increase in fund balance for the general fund. The street improvement fund had a net change in fund balance of almost $280,000, and the total of all the smaller funds had a slight decrease in fund balance, decreased by about $67,000. And again, I'll talk about that a little bit here in a minute. Following these fund financial statements, you will have the 3 statements that are required for the water fund. And again, the first 2 statements is the same information that you saw on pages 1 and 2 of the audit, one being the statement of net position, again showing that $18.5 million as a net position. And then on page 8, you will see the income statement of the water fund, showing again that increase in net position of $800,000. And then last but not least, the water fund also requires a statement of cash flows. And here you can see that the net increase in cash in that fund year over year was about $885,000. So following these statements are the footnotes to the financial statements. Nothing really changed in the footnotes. We did not implement any new standards this year. There was one accounting standard that we needed to look at to see if the city would have to implement, and that related to the way the Governmental Accounting Standards Board requires the city now how to account for compensated absences. But the way the accrued vacation and sick leave is being used by employees in the city and the way your policy reads, there really was no effect on your financial statements. In other words, there really wasn't any substantial increase or decrease in the liability that we needed to record because of this new standard. So therefore, you really don't have a new disclosure or anything in your financial statements related to that new standard. The last piece I just wanted to talk about, like I mentioned, are the non-major funds, and you will find those way in the back as I'm looking for them. Sorry. So pages 40 and 41. So page 40 is the combining balance sheet of the non-major funds. And here you can see that $1 million that we saw in the summary statement. Here you can see how that is spread amongst the smaller funds. Conservation Trust Fund has a $132,000 fund balance. Pool, Park and Recreation, $374,000. The Capital Projects Fund has a $242,000 fund balance. And then the Perpetual Care Fund has a $327,000 fund balance. And then page 41 again shows you how the fund balance has changed in those smaller funds from 23 to 24. And the only one to note here is Pool, Park and Recreation Fund is really the only fund that actually had a negative change in fund balance or a decrease in fund balance. All other funds of the city actually increased in fund balance year over year. So last but not least, I just want to touch on a little bit the general fund budget to actual report, and that is on page 36 of your audit. That statement is essentially your income statement just for the general fund, and it compares actual results with adopted budgets. So you can see for the general fund specifically, you adopted a budget with about not quite $3.4 million of estimated revenues. Actual revenues were about $276,000 higher than you estimated. And on the expenditure side, you appropriated a little over $4 million for 2024, and you had a budget savings of $609,000 for the year, with actual expenditures being only $3.4 million. And that concludes my presentation, but I am happy to answer any questions you may have. I know it's a lot of information.
Anybody have any specific?
When I looked through this, looking at what Lori put together, the MDA,
MD&A?
comparing it with your report,
Yeah.
that was so totally helpful. Thank you, Lori. In a lot of explaining and the numbers. So I really appreciated that part.
Yeah, and that
it was
is
a little more, I mean, not understanding. So yeah.
right. And that is what that is designed to do, is to give, because as you see, in the actual audit report, in the audited financials, all you're looking at is numbers, lines and numbers. But the MD&A is actually the part of the report that tells the story.
The story, right,
Yeah.
the story.
So
And a lot of explaining with a few words, but detail.
right. And highlighting the things that truly matter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So thank
Absolutely.
you to both of you. Thank you for putting that, Lori, together and including it. I appreciated it. So thank you.
Good. Any other comments,
No.
questions?
Just big thanks for doing the audit again, and again,
Thank you.
kudos to Lori and everybody that works with her to come up with such a clean audit. And
Yes, it's a big task, and I was very pleased this year. So I just thought I just wanted to communicate that to council, that it's a lot of work, and they're doing it. So thank you so much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4, we had no public sign up. Okay. All right, item 5, consent agendas. We have items A through H. A are the minutes, B are the city expenditures, C and D are liquor license for the Rialto and the Barn and Barrel. E, approval of an IGA between the City of Florence and the District Attorney's Office for use of the shooting range. F, consider approval of the waiver of admission fees to the pool on July 4th. G, considering entering into employment agreement with Police Chief Sean Humphrey for the interim city manager position. And H, considering entering agreement with a recruitment services for the city manager's position. At this time, would anybody like to pull any of these consent agenda items?
I would like to pull H, please.
H?
And I would also like to pull A, only because I wasn't here, and as a consent agenda, I would like to vote for everything else on the consent agenda and just
Okay.
do the minutes separately,
Okay.
and agree with Tammy on H.
Any others? All right, then, can we have a motion to approve consent agenda items B through G?
I'll make a motion, we approve consent agenda B, C, D, E, F, and G.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, consent agenda item A, consider approving the minutes for the regular council meetings.
So I'll make a motion, we approve consent agenda A.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
I abstain.
Motion passes. Consent agenda H, consider entering into an agreement for recruitment services for the city manager position.
I personally have not had enough time to read over all of this information. I would like to propose that we have a special meeting early next week or whenever staff could prepare that for us.
City clerk, could you give us a real quick summation of this? Just some of them, it's
Sure. So, after the special meeting last Tuesday, I reached out to 5 actual recruiting companies, all from different professional recommendations and from previous use. 3 of them communicated back, and we had anticipated, Amy did a really great job of creating a filler item for the agenda with the anticipation that we would receive 3 results today. We only did receive 2. One company that we previously used is very occupied this month and is not going to be able to submit a proposal. But the 2 proposals in front of you are what we received. Again, I did not do a lot of specification because I did not have a lot of direct, influence as far as what you were looking for. We kept it very generalized. So if there's something you guys want to sharpen when we potentially go back out, or if you'd like to make it a lot more formal of a process, that's absolutely city council's prerogative. So
Briefly, I liked what I read, but I want a little more time to compare apples and oranges.
I have a concern on do we wait until after we hire a recruiter before we get our profile input and personal, concerns in for them to go looking for? Or get some kind of a program for when we're gonna meet and who's all involved in the vetting process and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of defer to anyone that was part of the process last time. I would guess you would pick a firm and then kind of work with them to steer the ship the way that you guys want it steered.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what we did last year, and we're actually a couple steps ahead because last time we didn't have a real good job description. We've got a better basis for that now. And that's what we did last time. We hired the firm. They came and talked to council and got input, and they gave us a real specific timeline.
Yeah, just briefly reading the one resume, a couple things stuck out, but yet to be fair to the second one, just a little more time just to be fair.
Yeah, I wanna go with the submissions.
Okay. All right. So do we have a motion then to?
Could we discuss, like, if we have a meeting next week, early week, what would be the best day for staff and go ahead and pick a time for us too?
I'm open to anything next week.
It'll be a one-topic meeting just to meet and just
Yes.
decide on hiring a recruiter. Make it offer.
So can I ask Lori if she has an input on this timeline for us? Monday, Tuesday?
yeah, Wednesday would be great for a special meeting.
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Next Wednesday.
The 25th.
Yes.
And I think part of that would be if there's additional direction to staff of what you guys would be looking for or needing in order to be able to potentially make a decision at that meeting to hire a firm. And maybe you've got it all or it will keep coming in, but
I know one of the important things we did last time was to look up the references and check references from the recruiting firms, from other cities that they had done the work for. And that was important, very important thing to do.
So are we free to call as individuals?
Yeah.
handle that for you if you want, and bring you
Yeah.
back the results, or if the governing body wants to, but staff can handle that for you. and
Okay.
have
Okay, so we,
typically do with our
Yeah.
review if you'd like, or however you want that handled. We'll be happy to
Between now and next Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. So does anybody have preference on time?
I know, Matt, you're working day, so.
I'm free anytime on Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No preference. 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock?
5 works for me.
5?
Okay.
5? Okay.
So I think we would have to have a motion to table this agenda item first,
Correct.
and then we would call for a special meeting. Or that can be part of the motion.
Well, I would maybe say that unless you really want to call for the special meeting right now, that we wait and make sure that we get the information and we can call the special meeting at any point by publishing with
Okay.
enough notice.
Okay. I will make a motion that we table the agreement for recruitment services for the city manager position.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion passes. All right. New business. Item 6. Consider adopting an ordinance setting the ballot language to be used in the November 4th, 2025 coordinated general election regarding the extension of an existing sales tax. City Clerk.
Yes, so this item is for the sales tax issue that's going on the ballot potentially in November. The street fund sales tax is sunsetting at the end of this year. So this ordinance will allow us to put an item on the ballot. And so we are on an internal timeline with the Department of Revenue and with the county for election materials. So this is the first time you guys have seen this item, but ultimately it's your guys' prerogative again on what this issue or item looks like.
Yeah, I can just weigh in a little bit there. So this is really just focused on the actual language. This would be what appears on the ballot. So hopefully it's well written and clear. It has been approved by Department of Revenue, but if you were to see something that was confusing or not well written, then now's your chance to make sure we get that fixed.
Anybody have any questions regarding this? The wording. Just as a little levity, I was on myself. I'm reading through this. I'm going Article X. I'm going like, is that like Article something's going to go in there or what? And then when I read it in the way it's written out, it dawned on me it was a Roman numeral. So, Article 10, Section 20. So, sometimes I'm not the quickest. There. So, anybody like to make a motion? There's no questions to approve the language of for the ballot.
I move to adopt ordinance number 6, 2025, an ordinance setting the ballot language to be used in the November 4th, 2025 coordinated general election as follows. Shall the city of Florence's existing 0.5% sales and use tax scheduled to sunset December 31st, 2025 be extended until December 31st, 2035 with all revenue to be used exclusively for the construction, reconstruction, repair, and maintenance of streets and other public rights-of-way within the city. And shall the city be authorized to collect, retain, and spend such revenues as voter-approved revenue change under Article 10, Section 20 of the Colorado Constitution.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Any last questions? Roll call, please.
Counselor Stiefel,
Yes.
Counselor Mergelman,
Yes.
Counselor Gardner,
Yes.
Counselor Stone,
Yes.
Counselor McKinnon,
Yes.
Mayor Wolf.
Yes.
Okay, item 7, city council reports. Gail?
Attended the senior picnic Saturday. Some yummy food was left over by the time I got there. Enjoyed that. And I'll hold my other comment till after a report is given. Thank you.
No report.
Tammy?
I attended the merchant meetings. They are working on planning some events for the rest of the year, and their benches should be on the street, on Main Street before the 4th of July. And I attended the Shrek movie, which was wonderful. Thank you. That's all.
Rudel?
Well, I went to the CDOT presentation out of Pathfinder, and they've kicked that project back to 2030 now, so it lost a little bit of its sparkle. Went to the Coal Creek Playground. I went to the Mayor's Roundtable and went to the Art Council, and I missed Boza by that much. I came at 5:30 and it was at 5 and it lasted 6 minutes. So I didn't make Boza. Sorry.
All right. Brenda?
Nothing to report.
Okay. Couple things since last meeting. I also attended the Coal Creek Playground opening. Met with the mayor up there, and it was good to see Judy McCormick up there. She spent so many years working hard for that project and for the city of Coal Creek. And it was good to see her. We missed her at the mayor roundtable. Also attended the CDOT open house in 115. They asked for comments and things that we thought were priorities, and I put down we need to keep the diagonal parking through downtown Florence. And I put that down as a priority, through our central historic business area there. I attended the mayor's roundtable. We got an update from Justin Kurth on some wholesome activities. Their application to Fremont and Pueblo County for their new quarry goes before the Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday the 24th. The quarry will be in both counties, so they have to get promotion for both. And this will open up in about 4 years again to keep that plant running for another 100 years, they say. So they've got that in front of the Board of County Commissioners on the 24th. Their solar project is moving ahead. Last meeting we tabled an item for a letter of support for the carbon capture sequester. And Justin explained that was on hold a little bit because the funding through the Department of Energy, just like every other department in the federal government right now, it's not that things are all being canceled, but they're just on hold. So they'll keep us informed of that, and it's great that we have Justin Kurth as their community relations person, because he's a Penrose guy, and he's there for our community. Bill Ritter, fire chief, and Tom Vernetti, our building inspector. They came to the meeting too, and to explain, gave an update on the pending Colorado Wildfire Resiliency Code, which will have a big impact on these small municipalities. Like he said, all of Brookside, every part of Brookside is under the high, danger area, and that has a lot of impact on insurance and on building codes. So that was great that they were there. Again, a real good mayor's roundtable from that standpoint. Beth Lenz was there, and she said the Safe Streets and Roads for All is not dead, that it is alive again. We are attacking that a little bit differently because we're in this consortium with Silver Cliff, West Cliff, Florence, Coal Creek, Rockvale, Williamsburg, and Brookside. 7 entities. So there's like a little over $400,000 grant for the Safety Action Plan, which we put together first Once you have that, now you can start to apply for building and construction and, helpful grants for that. So they'll be having a meeting on that in July. McCandless project started this morning, bright and early. And the Langston personnel were great. They were out there. They were helping people. People come around the corner and like, whoa, what's going on? So, real happy with that, how they are communicating. I talked to Sam about that, so it's good. And then last thing, I'm going to continue to meet with the Bighorn Roundtable. I'm hoping next week to get an update on the Minnequaw Dam restoration project. Not that the city's involved in it at all, but just to get an update for us, because that will affect us down here. We'll become the lower end of the Arkansas whitewater activity, that corridor. So, all right. So that's my report. All right, city manager. City manager first, we'll go.
Mine is just the written report. I am here to support Sean and aid with the transition.
Okay. Sean, anything to say?
I attended the barbecue or out there at the senior center at the Pioneer Park, because got a weight problem, can't wait to eat. So I like that, and then I went to the movie night. So it was great, great. Okay. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. City attorney, anything?
No report from me.
Okay, I've hassled Cortland enough. Sam, anything else? Okay, and Lori's already had hers. I know you wanted to say something, didn't you, Gail?
I did. I just want to again say thank you to Amy and what she has placed for us, our staff, to do. It directly reflects on Lori's budget, the goals, the procedures, the policies in place. It's all there. It's working. It's a living, working. And I just want to say thank you. I mean, in that report where there was nothing out of order, it states, I mean, how she's brought us from the dark ages to where we are now and where we can go in the future. So, again, it's just a thank you. 2 little words that I wish there was more, but thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. It's been my honor.
Yeah, and I just say, again, looking at this report, like I always heard in the office sometimes that city governance is not always flashy. Doesn't have to be controversial. It's a lot of times it's just put your nose to the grindstone and get those things done, and that's what it should be. And that's what happened. And we can testify if anybody wants to know. It's in the packet. You can go and read that city report and see what's happened over the last 2 years. So, again, thank you very much. All right. Anybody?
Can we use that with our recruiter, as this is the pace that we expect to keep up?
That's a council decision, sir.
Okay. Does anybody have any reason to move into executive session? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Meeting adjourned at 7:09.
like a, you know, we cut you a break first.